John, most customers look at the spec sheet and see a machine that makes 80 pounds of ice per day, and they think, great, that's more than enough. But what they don't realize is that the machine doesn't store 80 pounds of ice all at once. In fact, it might only hold 20 pounds at a time, which leads to situations like this one.
Yes, the lie that's buried deep inside the spec sheet, right? I mean, that 80 pounds a day sounds like a lot. It's actually a ton. But what most people don't realize is that it's measured over a full 24 hours, in perfect lab conditions with a water inlet that's 50 degrees and ambient air that's 70 degrees, right? If we translate that to real life, your kitchen's what, 75? The ice machine is under a counter, the airflow is restricted, the water line is probably 60 degrees. So that 80-pound claim, you're already down, what, 15, 20% of that number before you even make a first cube of ice. But here's the real kicker, right? Most of these machines only store 20, 30 pounds of ice at a time, even if they're great. So even if it can make the full 80 pounds in a day, it's not holding 80 pounds. It's making a little. You use some, it melts some, and then it really starts over again. And if your demands on the household spike, like during a party or, a holiday dinner, you're empty in what, an hour or two, maybe? And now you're waiting for that slow drip of recovery ice. And you haven't even talked about what happens inside the machine, which is called meltback. Most under counter machines don't have a freezer style bin. They keep ice cold, but they don't keep it frozen solid. And that means every pound of ice that you store is already, melting or really dying the second that it hits the bin. You can lose up to 50% of stored volume in 4 to 6 hours just from the ambient heat bleeds alone. So when a customer says, it doesn't keep up with my needs, honestly, they're probably not wrong. They just didn't realize that the production and availability are two different things. And that's where your spec strategy really needs to evolve overall. If the need is real, don't downplay it, right? Don't shortcut it. Ask how they're going to use the ice. Ask how many people, right? Ask how often they host. And if the answer calls for it, spec multiple machines. One for everyday use, one for peak demand, one for, clear cubes, and one for chewable ice. Because here's what I've learned after watching hundreds or thousands of these sales at this point. If somebody's willing to spend thousands of dollars just to make their ice production easier, I promise you, they'll spend thousands more to make sure that it's done right. Because at that point, it's not about overselling. It's about underserving the customer in front of you. And that's the risk you take if you don't push for the full solution.